Who's actually running the country right now? Everybody's worried about the future and Trump, and he's such a threat to democracy. Why did he do all that stuff in the 4 years that he was here? I'm genuinely curious. All this threat and all these problems. Name one thing that was, oh my God, a threat to democracy. What was it? And what is Kamala going to do?
January
I want Anthony
6th.
and Cenk to tell me what's one thing. Hold on. What's one thing Kamala people are going to vote for Kamala for? Anthony, just random. What are you going to vote for Kamala Harris for?
Okay, if you're Vladimir Putin or you're Kim Jong-un or you're President Xi, who are you going to be more or less intimidated by? Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
Trump.
There's no question Kamala Harris. It's not even close.
But in this one, we're going to take a look at a debate between Cenk Uygur, Vinny Oshana, Anthony Scaramucci, and Emily Austin. And I haven't seen this one yet, so I will be reacting live. But judging from the previews, this is going to be a good one. So let's go ahead and just get her started.
A month ago, even the most passionate and partisan Democrat would have struggled to pretend that Kamala Harris is anything more than a middling vice president with dubious credentials for the highest office in the land. But almost overnight, she's been manufactured into a cultural phenomenon and a visionary. Most of all, she's apparently a harbinger of joy.
The one thing that I will not forgive them for is they're trying to steal the joy from this country.
The joy felt by Americans backing the Harris-Walz ticket.
We are joyful warriors.
Being joyful is part of the American identity.
The joy factor. Campaign of joy. You're talking about radical joy.
Okay, I think you get the point, right? That goes on for another minute, but I'm cutting it off there. I'll spare you guys.
Oh, the joy. Why am I not feeling quite so joyful? Why did none of them look that joyful as they said all that? Anthony Scaramucci, great to have you on Uncensored. We've spoken many times over the last few years about all things American politics. You posted on October the 1st, don't be surprised if Donald Trump drops out of the race. Nearly 10 million people viewed that post. Do you stand by it? And if you do, will you accept a $1,000 bet from me right now that Trump isn't going to pull out?
Well, I'll bet you $1,000 on the election. I don't know if I'm going to bet on the pullout. I mean, he's got to drop more substantially in the polls. You know, he's down 6 with the likely voters. If she opens up a lead, 12 to 15 points, he's not going to want to lose to her. He's the worst presidential candidate for the Republicans since Herbert Hoover. He's lost the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And if DeSantis or Nikki Haley was running against Kamala Harris, they'd probably be up 10 or 15. So.
False.
We'll have to see, but on likely voters, he's already down 6, and I like her momentum. I understand all the issues that you're raising related to her, but unfortunately, there's only 2 choices. There's him and her, and I think I would implore people to read H.R. McMaster's book if they get a chance, because he's very honest and very objective about the insanity that is Donald Trump.
I mean, Anthony, if I'd asked you
$1,000 on the election, I got Kamala. You can take
I'll
the
tell you
orange
what,
man if you
we'll
want.
make it for charity.
I'm done on that.
We'll make it for charity. I'll take that bet. I still think Trump's going to win. I'm not an American citizen. I don't have a vote. I don't have a horse in the race.
Okay.
I just think reality is going to kick in. And if I asked you, Anthony, before we move to the others, if I'd asked you even 2 months ago, do you think Kamala Harris would make a great president of the United States? You would have laughed out loud. Be honest.
Again, there's 2 choices in the race. I know I don't want to go back to what we had. I think it was a unmitigated disaster. He embarrassed me by supporting him, and he's actually an embarrassment on the world stage. And he doesn't even understand things like the nuclear triad. The guy is a walking disaster, and so I will take her over him. But you're right. If there were other candidates available, if you were available, Piers, you're not over 35 yet. But if you were an American citizen and over 35, I would take you.
So if I remember correctly, Donald Trump fired this dude, Anthony Scaramucci, after he won the presidency in 2016. But it might have been 2017 after he took over in the White House. But this guy, he just sounds like he's bitter. He sounds like he wishes that he was on the inside, and now he's holding a grudge. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that's the case, though, but let's continue.
See,
why we've only got 2 choices.
This is really why I wanted you on the program, because I knew that you would flatter me in a way that I would find irresistible. Emily Austin, so look, Kamala Harris was nobody's choice, even on the Democrat side, to be president of the United States 2 months ago. Suddenly, she's apparently the great, fresh, new thing, despite the fact that she's been Biden's vice president for nearly 4 years. How can she continue to execute this tripwire of pretending she's not responsible or accountable for everything that's gone on in this administration?
The answer is that she can't. You know, there's only so long you could portray this facade that you have everything figured out. But what I hope to see happen sooner than later, because the clock is ticking, is for the emotions to be removed from this election. Kamala could run her Ren and Stimpy, happy, happy, joy, joy campaign all she wants, which sounds strikingly similar to Hitler's strength through joy, but I'm not even going to get into that. But at some point, which will happen likely in this debate, is her policies have to be questioned. She can run on the joy campaign. Trump is the policy president. He addresses it head on, whether it's easy or hard. Kamala can't even face the media. Her pre-taped, lied to be what was a live interview on CNN. She couldn't even do it without her babysitter nearby. And she's an embarrassment to the country. And it's not because she's a woman, and it's not because she's a woman of color. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. And as a celebrity, she's quite entertaining. But presidentially, she would embarrass us on a global stage. She's embarrassing us domestically, and it would be disastrous. Everything he just said about Trump, I believe the same to Kamala Harris.
All right, Cenk Uygur, she's an embarrassing disaster. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing's been preposterous. Kamala Harris is a very standard, normal politician, and you guys are ignoring the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is that Donald Trump is a lunatic. So you guys are having this conversation. This normal politician, oh my God, she might not be good enough. Wow, she's running with joy. That sounds like Hitler. All these kind of loony things that you guys are all saying, when the other guy's a lunatic.
My, the things that the Democrats, these progressives, Cenk Uygur will excuse while attacking Donald Trump ad hominem. Oh, he's a lunatic. You guys, he's a lunatic. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is out there changing accents every time she goes to a different city. She has no principles, no policies on her website, no principles either. And she's out here using a slogan that was, I believe it was used during the Hitler campaign, that this strength through joy thing. And yes, it's relevant because it's the Democratic Party and their talking pieces in the mainstream media that have been calling Trump and his supporters Hitler and Nazis for the past 8 years. So whenever your candidate comes out there and literally echoes something from that same regime, we're going to point it out, dude. It's relevant. You guys made it relevant. You know, if you hadn't magnified certain things for so long, we'd be able to look past it and just call it stupid. But
he thinks we should terminate the Constitution. He thinks that all of our crowds are AI-created images. He believes absolutely insane things, thought that his vice president deserved to be murdered by his supporters. And we're having a nonsense conversation about Kamala Harris running with joy being a bad thing. And guys, there's a lot of reasons that she does that. But one of the reasons is to juxtapose the hatred from the other side, which you guys are amply displaying. The other side's like, oh my God, everybody's the enemy. The immigrants are the enemy. The Democrats are the enemy. Oh, they're killing babies after they're born. All these lunatic talk. So go ahead, run your mouth about Kamala Harris. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump's still a lunatic, and the country doesn't want an unstable madman like that who doesn't even believe in America. He thinks we should terminate our Constitution. He had no problem trampling our democracy. I'm not letting that clown come in here and destroy this country.
All snap. You hear that, Bill Maher? He just called you a clown for wanting to rewrite the Constitution.
This is based on an old 1886 law from the Reconstruction era. It's for a very different situation. We need to get rid of that entire process.
We need to have a full page one rewrite of the Constitution. Not that there aren't some great things in it.
We have the oldest Constitution in the world.
Right, and some of it is ridiculous.
All right, Vinny Oshana. He's a clown who'll destroy the country, an 800-pound gorilla. And this is apparently these are the nice guys spreading joy.
Yeah,
well, you
listen,
guys are super nice.
I have to say this, Piers. Emily, you kind of brushed over it, love, and I think you should have stayed on it. Emily's a Jewish girl, and she mentioned the strength through joy was 100% hijacked from the Nazis. It was in 1933. I have to read this, Emily. Hold on one second, guys. I actually want to read this because Emily's right.
Total
insanity. They ripped a Nazi. Hold on, Cenk. I didn't interrupt you. The Nazi labor campaign of 1933, that's it. It was set up as a tool to promote the advantages of Nazism. So whoever's coming up with this joy campaign, they should do a little bit more research. And you know what? Instead of going Trump and talking bad about, I don't know Anthony, I know Cenk and I respect Cenk. We disagree politically, but let's talk about the actual State of the Union right now, Piers. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but an American Jewish hostage was murdered by Hamas. That just happened a couple days ago. Who's actually running the country right now? Everybody's worried about the future and Trump, and he's such a threat to democracy. Why did he do all that stuff in the 4 years that he was here? I'm genuinely curious. All this threat and all these problems. Name one thing that was, oh my God, a threat to democracy. What was it? And what is Kamala going to do? I want Anthony and Cenk to tell me what's one thing. What's one thing Kamala, people are going to vote for Kamala for? Anthony, just random. What are you going to vote for Kamala Harris for?
Okay, Vinny, you've asked lots of questions there. I would say clearly what happened personally on January the 6th was an attack on democracy. You know, when a very large mob of people attack the Capitol and start calling for lawmakers to be hung because they're trying to reverse an election decision, that's an attack on democracy. You can spin it any way you like, but Anthony, let me ask Anthony the second part of that, because I'm sure he would say the same. Very interesting question Vinny raised there. Who is running the United States? You know, I felt very strongly when Kamala Harris effectively sailed through as the nominee. It was clearly a party machinery operation to get her the nomination as fast as possible. Would it not have been better for America if the Vice President of the United States, in that situation, who's now the official nominee, actually replaced Joe Biden as President of the United States? It's very, very odd as a non-American who loves the country, has a home there. I was there for several weeks in August, to see endless pictures of Joe Biden on the beach and Kamala Harris meeting world leaders. It's very odd. It's strange. It doesn't seem to make any sense. Do you think it's right and proper, what we're seeing now?
Well, listen, what I think is right and proper is actually never going to happen. I have to deal with the world the way it is.
But what do you think is right and proper?
But
that implies you agree with me.
To answer Vinny's issue, okay, I don't like seeing what's happening in Aurora, Colorado, but I saw Donald Trump in the Situation Room, and I understand the mechanisms of his personality and the impetuosity and the lack of curiosity and no executive management skills. And to what Cenk is saying, I would take a more garden variety politician who will follow the rules-based society. I don't want somebody that's currying favor with dictators. I don't want somebody that's going to roll back NATO. I don't want somebody that's going to let Vladimir Putin walk into the Ukraine. So that's me. That's what makes America great.
Can we challenge you on that?
That actually doesn't answer Vinny's question.
Emily, I'll come to you. But Anthony, hang on. Just on that point, Anthony, all I would say is this. Yeah. Trump didn't go into war with anyone in his 4 years, whatever you think of him. Putin didn't invade Ukraine or anywhere else on Trump's watch. Okay.
I don't want to stop
those things
your show.
Those things, they're just facts. And when it comes to rolling back NATO, I watched and listened very carefully, given that my country is part of NATO, to what Trump actually said. He wanted other member countries of NATO to pay their due. He was sick and tired of America having to pay the vast majority of the costs of NATO and other countries not paying their due. By the way, hang on. Okay. By the way, on that, he was 100% right. And many of those countries he castigated are now paying significantly more towards the cost of NATO as a result of what Trump did. So on those 2 points, I'm not so sure that you're on good ground.
Well, I think you got to give me a chance to respond, because this is what Trump does. He says two contrary things at the same time. His detractors hold on to one thing. His people that love him hold on to another thing, his advocates. And so he made it very clear to John Bolton. He made it very clear to General Kelly, Jim Mattis, Rex Tillerson that he wanted out of NATO. He made it very clear. He slowed down the arms shipments to the Ukraine. In 1994, we cut a deal with them. They were the 6th largest nuclear arsenal in the world. We got the nukes back in exchange for security guarantees. He slowed down the arms shipments. There's irrefutable fact to that, a result of which gave Vladimir Putin an opening in the Ukraine. Moreover, he moved the embassy. The State Department asked him not to move the embassy in Jerusalem. He moved the embassy in Jerusalem. And you can't tell me that didn't lead to more funding for Hamas, because we know from our intelligence agencies that it did. So we can pretend that he didn't start any wars, but he doesn't understand the nature of the world. The State Department told him, don't go to North Korea. The guy's never given up his nukes. He said, no, no, no. I'm Donald Trump, the supreme narcissist. I'm going to North Korea. He's going to give up his nukes. Did he give up his nukes, Piers? This is insanity that we're talking about a guy that is this intellectually bereft running the country. So you gotta.
But let me ask you, okay. But before I go to Emily to respond to that,
hang on. But
before I go to Emily,
Anthony, he's been very honest about it.
Who do you
think?
Okay, but here's a tough question for you before I go to Emily to respond. If you're Vladimir Putin or you're Kim Jong-un or you're President Xi, who are you going to be more or less intimidated by? Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
Trump.
There's no question Kamala Harris. It's not even close, because he wants to be them. He praises them. He solicits them. He tells Putin from a microphone like this, go ahead and invade the countries that are not spending 2% on NATO. You heard him say that. It's not me saying it.
But I knew what he meant by that.
No question.
I knew what he meant. What he meant was, if the member countries of NATO don't pay their dues, it is more likely that people like Putin will take advantage. That's what he meant. You know that.
It's a 2016 analysis, Piers. Your analysis is a 2016 analysis. He dupes people. He says two things at the same time that are quite contradictory.
All right, let me bring it
on both sides.
Let me bring in Emily.
Then he denounces the Nazis.
Emily, you were holding your face in utter
I know
horror.
the playbook, Piers. I've been around it for a decade.
Okay.
That is hilarious. He just said that Piers's analysis was a 2016 analysis and that Trump says two things. Well, Scaramucci, your claim that Trump said there's very fine people on both sides is exactly that, a 2016 analysis. It's been disproven, fact-checked by Snopes. Yes, it took them 7 years to finally admit it, but that Trump did not refer to the neo-Nazis as very fine people when he said there's very fine people on both sides. And you completely just discredited yourself, not that you had much credit in the first place. And did you notice that Emily started cracking up when Scaramucci said that Kamala Harris is way more intimidating on a world scale than Donald Trump? I mean, even Cenk said Trump.
I saw Emily hold her head in horror as you said that the world's dictators will be more intimidated by Kamala Harris.
No question, because she's going to be with NATO.
Donald Trump has the spinal cord and the international respect that Biden in a million years can never achieve. Donald Trump had every world leader afraid of him. He just said, Anthony, that Donald Trump should not, excuse me, let me speak. You just said Donald Trump should not have gone to North Korea. If this man has international respect and can go build bridges overseas, he has every single right and a duty as our leader to do so. Let me tell you something about Donald Trump. Like him or not, he is feared. And that is what we need when the world has gone mad and you have Putin's invading Ukraine and you have Hamas's attacking Israel and kidnapping 7 Americans that Biden failed, including, like Vinny just said, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, being murdered, with Hamas posting a video. And what is Biden's response? Netanyahu didn't do enough. Biden's only response should have been, Hamas will pay the price. Biden should have been more present, not on a beach, using Hirsch's poor parents as political tools at the DNC, pretending he cares about the American hostages, not relaxing in Delaware. They should have been more pressure on Iran to put pressure on the proxies, more negotiations with Qatar. Instead, he's this weak leader. But you know what? I want to pause for a moment. I'm blaming Joe Biden. I actually want to criticize the puppeteers that are controlling him, because I genuinely believe he has one foot in the grave. And that actually goes to a bigger problem, which is the entire Democratic Party. We don't know who's in charge. It is not Joe Biden, and it is surely as hell not Kamala Harris. So it goes back to Pierce's question, who is running the show, and how come we as the American people are not so outraged that this weakness is causing mass chaos, not just here, but all around the world. America is next. The West is the target. The Middle East is laughing at us right now because we have no leadership. Donald Trump would never let that happen.
Okay,
people respected him and people feared him, and I don't care if you like him or not. That doesn't matter when you vote.
Dang, Pierce, it took you forever to let her speak. You should let her continue. She was cooking, man. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.